Okay, we get started here. We got a little bit to go through tonight. Call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
You're welcome.
Joe,
Here.
Bill,
Here.
Kim, Kathy, and Mary Jane,
Here.
and Ralph is absent.
Okay, I'm in the agenda a little bit. Susan Scoops Louts. Susan Skips Louts is here. Present us with the quotes from phase 3 Washington. Susan, if you would, please. I know you got another meeting here after this.
Yes, I do. I'm only doing 2 tonight, though. Thank you for having me this evening. I wanted to kind of update you on the bids that we received on the Washington Street Phase 3 and East Main Street Phase 1. As you may remember, we combined that into one project, and the bids were taken on Wednesday last week. The Preble County Commissioners actually accepted the bids because of the fact that we have the CDBG money in it. The contract will actually be a 3-way contract between the contractor, the county, and the village, since you have some Ohio Public Works Commission money in it as well. So what I'm going to give you is kind of a letter with the breakdown of the bids so that we can look at it. We got 4 bids last week, and basically I kind of wanted to remind you what we were doing. On the base bid, it included the Washington Street work, which is the removal of all the stumps, the new sidewalk, and the new curb, and then it will have an asphalt wedge, which basically means we're just going to put an asphalt back in against the curb, but we're not going to repave the whole street. And if you remember, ODOT's going to be in here to pave that in 2015, so it really wasn't worth wasting your dollars to put pavement down for 2 years from now, them to come in and mill it all up and pave it again. It's just not worth wasting your money for that. So the same thing will happen on East Main Street in the base bid. We'll abandon the 6 coal chutes. We'll replace the existing sidewalk and the replacement of the curb with the asphalt wedge. And then we also bid an alternate, which is this alternate number 1 on East Main Street, which would remove the asphalt wedge, and we would actually pave East Main Street from Washington Street down to High Street, because ODOT's not going to pave that part. That's, your part. It's not a state route. So I did bid that as an alternate just to see kind of what numbers we could get, because it looked like the job was maybe going to come in under budget.
Where's that paving again? From where to where?
On East Main Street from Washington to High Street. You passed Bud's. So basically, the low bid was submitted by ProGrade Excavation out of Eaton, and they had a combined bid for the base and the alternate of $186,759.50. I have reviewed their bids. Does appear not to be any discrepancies of any kind. So therefore, the next thing that I would recommend is that the village approve the base bid and the alternate bid be awarded to ProGrade Excavating, and basically we'll make that recommendation to Preble County. Attached is a copy of all the bids and the bid breakdown. We received bids from ProGrade, Durst Brothers out of Tip City, Taylor Made Construction out of Dayton, and Synesis Contracting out of Westchester. The bids ranged from $186,000 to $249,000. So that's just kind of a breakdown of the bids themselves and all the different line items. The next thing I have for you is kind of a sources and uses of funds page, which basically says, this is the money we have, and this is how we can use the money. And I kind of wanted you to take a look at that before you made any kind of recommendation for the commissioners. Basically, the money that we have consists of $167,140 of grant money from Ohio Public Works Commission, which is 72% in relationship to the money that you committed, which was the $65,000. And then the Preble County CDBG grants $41,000 for a total of $273,140. And again, that $167,000 is based on your commitment of $65,000. That grant was actually for more than that, but we had committed $97,000, and that was a little more than what the village felt they could do. So we kind of brought that number down to something that you could afford, and then the grant is a pro rata share. So if you have 65%, then you have to say, and that's 28%, then you just project it for the 72. As of now, the uses of the funds, we do have an engineering contract for 53.3. We didn't have any permit fees or legal advertisements or anything like that because the county did all the advertisement. The base bid was $153,693.70. The alternate bid was $33,065.80. So if you would award both of those, your total uses of funds would be $240,059.50, and you would still have left over $33,080.50. And I know one thing that I know Rick and I discussed briefly that was not in the drawings was possibly putting a retaining wall down there in front of 507 South Washington Street where we took out some additional trees. It's just past the bridge on the east side of the road, and there's all those trees in there, and we took out some trees, and there's kind of like a hill there. And now that those trees are gone, there's some question I think the homeowner has about the stability of that hill. So when Rick and I talked about it briefly, I basically said that if we decide we'd like to put a wall in there, that's fine. We can do that with this money. But I would suggest that we do it with maybe a landscaper as a separate contract, just simply because if we go to add it in, it's going to have to be a change order, and it would get kind of expensive. And he's going to most likely sub it to somebody else anyway. And so then you're going to be paying even more because he's going to pay to handle it. So with that being the case, we can kind of do it like we did the trees, where you just get some quotes from somebody to do it, and then the village can award it, and then it can go through the grant. So it would be kind of the same way as the trees were. So with that being the case, I guess at this point, if you're okay with the bids, I will entertain, or the mayor can entertain a motion to recommend award of the bid to ProGrade to the Preble County Commissioners.
Do we need to decide tonight about this 33,000 left over?
No.
Or we can choose that at a later date as
Yes.
what we're going to do with it?
Yes, Yeah, that's something you can kind of think about. The other thing that we need to take out of that too, and I think I forgot to note it, is the tree removal was $3,750. So that needs to come out of that 33,000. So we have about 29,300 left. So, I'd like to get the project started, make sure we don't run into anything unforeseen, especially with those coal chutes, although I think we've got them tied down, very well. If something else comes up that you want to do along the way, and we can surely add things as we go, by change order with ProGrade.
And
So
the time frame for making the decision on the remaining money is?
they have until September 30th to finish the contract. So I would say as long as you decided what you wanted to do by July, we would probably be okay. The other thing that'll happen is once the award's made to ProGrade, there will be a pre-construction meeting down at the courthouse with the commissioners. At that time, I would assume that ProGrade will give us some kind of a schedule as to when they'll be here to do the work, and then we'll have to kind of work around their schedule. Even though they have till September 30th, they may not take that long.
And the date for the meeting, pre-construction meeting is when?
We don't have a
Oh,
date.
you don't have a
No,
date.
we have to do this award first.
Okay.
Once we send the award and get their paperwork back, then we'll set up a date for that.
What happens if the money is unused?
Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to use all the CDBG money first because Kim needs to get rid of it. Then we'll do the Ohio Public Works Commission grant money, and if there's any that's not used, it basically just goes back to them,
Goes back to,
the Ohio Public Works Commission.
we wouldn't get a percentage back?
You would get whatever percent of your money, that $65,000.
Right.
If, say there was $10,000 that we didn't end up using,
We get 28%.
you would get,
26.
you would get, 2,800, and they would get 7,200 of that $10,000 if we're using that as an
So
example.
we get back to 26% of the 30.
Right. On the alternate bid,
Mm-hmm.
that section that we're paving, was that scheduled to be paved in 2015?
No,
What was scheduled to be paved in 2015?
Washington.
Just Washington.
Just Washington.
That's a state route, that's just state, that's state company doing a state road only.
they won't do any roads other than state routes. So anything that's off a state route is your responsibility. And that's why I chose to look at paving that one, because the state will never pave that one.
Right.
You know, where 121 and 320, they will.
Now, on this alternate bid, that's probably all based on linear feet.
Mhm.
Would it be relatively easy if we decided that maybe we had to pave a little farther up that street? that
We can.
could be done?
Yeah, it's based on basically cubic yards and square yards of planing. If you thought you wanted to do something like that, we'd probably need to decide before they did the planing, because when they bring that planing machine in, they will charge you an arm and a leg if they would have to bring it back. So if you want to do some addition, like you say you want to go on down to Hutton Street, let's just pretend, then what we'd need to decide that before they brought that planing machine in, because they'd want to do all the planing at once in order for you to be able to get it at the price of $7.50 a square yard.
One last question that
Sure.
I have. I noticed that on the alternate bids, they were the highest. Is it feasible to award the bid to Pro, whatever it is?
ProGrade.
And then award the alternate bid to somebody else? Is that something that can be done?
Well, the problem's going to be is that
Additional contract.
you're going to have an additional contract, and that wasn't set up to award two separate contracts.
They probably changed their bid, have to come in for a small portion of it versus all of it. I'm sure that's a bid would change when you go back to them for that.
Yeah, because they've hidden some of their profit in the big bid. And they did it based on wanting to get the big bid, and then they threw the smaller bid in there, because they're probably their profits in the big one.
But it doesn't make sense that all these other guys didn't do that.
Susan, we can use that, we can use that for paving regardless of where in the village, correct?
Yeah, as long as you don't tell anybody.
Turn the mic off. No,
Yes.
yes, gotcha. No, I'm done.
It would probably be relatively smart to try to make it in the same general area, unless you have something that's really in bad shape that we'd need to move for.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we award the base bid, the alternate bid to ProGrade of Eaton, Ohio, in the amount of $186,759.50.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Sorry. Bill,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Kim. Yes. Kathy.
Yes.
Mary Jane. Yes.
And also, just as a side note, I don't know how many of you know, but ProGrade is actually owned by Daryl Buckley. And if any of you know Daryl Buckley, I know he said he's done, when I talked with him, he said he's done, some work here in New Parish before, and was very anxious to be here. I have been working with him on another project, and unfortunately, the paving part of it didn't go very well, and I'm meeting with him about it tomorrow, and I have expressed to him my deepest concern about the fact that he used a different paver. So, from my understanding, I think he's behooving my suggestion, and he won't use the same one here. So,
All right, anybody, any other questions for Susan? Susan, thank you very much.
All right, you're very
We have
welcome.
Another meeting.
and I will let you know when we have the pre-construction meeting, and then you'll need to have somebody down there, even if it's just Billy, that's fine.
All right,
Okay?
got you.
All right,
very
thank
much.
you, thank you.
All right, everyone, had a chance to look over the minutes from the April meeting, as though we need a motion to accept.
I move that the minutes be accepted from the April 1st meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mary Jane. Abstain. Kathy.
Yes.
Kim. Yes. Bill.
Yes.
And Joe.
Yes.
I need a motion to approve warrants and payroll timesheets.
So moved.
Second, please.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Mary Jane. Yes.
I need approval of transfer of police revenue from general fund to police fund.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Kathy,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Mary Jane. Yes.
Approval of the police fund monthly operating fund transfer. Motion, please. Second.
I'll second that. Everybody moved it, so.
Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill, Kim, Kathy,
Yes.
Mary Jane. Yes.
I need approval, a motion to approve the interest transfer, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mary Jane. Yes.
Okay, committee reports, safety.
We handled 54 calls last month, took 4 reports, made 0 arrests, 2 citations were issued, 6 warnings were issued, 0 vehicles were impounded. The department also completed taser training again, and CPR training was also completed by the department.
Okay. Thank you. I want to amend this a little bit. We have Dave Anderson from Northwest Fire Department. I'd like to have some words with council. Please, Dave, with us, please.
Okay.
Well, today, I'm not from Northwest Fire and EMS. I am the Deputy Director at the Preble County EMA. And the reason I'm here tonight is that we have an approved 5-year mitigation plan. This mitigation plan is a natural hazards plan. It needs to be reviewed and redone every 5 years. 2006 was when the last one was done. 2011 was when it needed to be done. We got started working on it. We got started a little late, but we finally got it approved. It's been approved by the state of Ohio. It's also been approved by FEMA. The reason that you want to have something like this is that if anything should happen, a natural disaster like a tornado or a flood, without having a mitigation plan in place for the county, you may not be able to get FEMA funds to reimburse your expenses. With a mitigation plan, you're pretty much guaranteed it. You still have to do the paperwork and everything on it, but you can get the funds by having this. Chief Driver is your mitigation plan representative, and once a year we're going to get everybody together and go over the plans for your particular areas. This time around, the ones that are in your mitigation plan are a tornado siren upgrade, which is taking the tornado siren that's presently here and getting it to where the sheriff's office can activate it remotely, a generator for the village building down here, and also another tornado siren to be put up somewhere else in the village. When these projects are completed, we can take them off the mitigation plan. We can put more on. If they don't get completed, you can still add some more. But this plan is just something to go by. I have a copy of it here. I'm going to take and leave it here with you guys. There is a lot of information in there. It's also in a digital format, so if you want to print more copies or if you just want to view it on your computer, you can. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. Is there any kind of a grant that you know of that we can get the siren upgraded or get a new one? Because I cannot hear it up at my house. I know they set it off many times and I've never ever heard it yet.
As far as I know right now, there is no grant to upgrade or replace existing sirens. There were, the last 2 years, there were grants available to put in new sirens. We ended up getting 4 of them, 3 of them the year before and 2 of them last year to be put up in Preble County. Let's see, Gratis, Camden, West Elkton, and there was one other. I'm not sure right now, I didn't write that down. But anyhow, what those were an EMPG special grant. An EMPG is the Emergency Management Performance Grant, and that's how our office is funded. They usually reimburse us 50% of our expenses, and at the end of the year, if there's money left over, then we can use that to do special projects. We apply for the particular project that we want to try and do, and it's up to the state to decide whether or not we get it or somebody else does, because it's considered a competitive grant. And the last 2 years we've gotten them. The last year one, the 2011 grant is already done, over with, it's expended. The 2012 grant we're still working on it, and it should be done towards the end of next month, I believe. And we have not heard of anything after that as far as putting up new tornado sirens, but we always keep our ears open for that, and whenever we get any kind of notification. The only thing is I believe we came down here and we talked to you guys about it, or somebody from the village, and asked them, and at that time you guys did not have the matching money. Usually it's an 80-20 grant. And at that time you guys did not have the money to be able to do anything, so we didn't put in any kind of an application. But if that has changed, I'll make sure I let the director know, and if something comes up, we can come down here and talk to you guys.
80-20 which way? We put up the 20? Or
Yes, you guys put up the 20, FEMA, or the state will put up the 80%.
I just wondered about that, because I don't know if I'm not the only one that can't hear or what, but I've never heard it up at our house. He lives closer to here than I do.
I don't remember hearing it myself.
So, but right now it has to be manually set off. And most of the other tornado sirens, not all of them in Preble County, are set off by the sheriff's office. It's all done remotely. So, and I know for a fact there isn't anything out there, because Camden has 3 tornado sirens that are inoperable right now, and we've looked to try and find some money, and we talked to people at state, and there isn't any money specifically for that. Most of the time it's for a new installation.
What's the ballpark you need?
$20,000. That's getting a pole, getting the siren, having it put up, all the electric run to it, things like that. It's somewhere in that neighborhood. $20,000 is a safe estimate.
You need 2 of them, or are you recommending in your plan 2 of them?
No, we don't recommend that stuff. That's up to you guys to decide where it is you want to have these placed, because you guys know the area much better than what we do. Typically, a tornado siren has a radius of about a mile that it can be heard from. And you also have to understand that a tornado siren is an outdoor warning siren. Most of the time, people will not be able to hear it inside. If you want to have people be able to hear it inside, then you need to go with a weather radio. Those are much more effective inside, but outside, like like down by the ballpark and stuff, you know, if a tornado starts coming, they're not going to have a weather radio down there, and that's where a siren would come in very handy. But in the middle of the night, it's not going to do any good, because most people are inside sleeping, and therefore weather radio would be the way to go. So, you know, it's a combination of the both to make everybody completely safe. Have a question?
It's probably here because it does have to be remotely set off. Is that-
Yeah.
So if we did ever have the money to move, we could move it somewhere, maybe more, if we could find somebody that would let us move it up.
We had discussion a couple years back to move it up to the new water tower, take the horn that we have now, put it up to the water tower. At the time, I think, if memory serves me, it was like $2,800 for the remote, to be able to set off remotely from the sheriff's department. And there was not the $2,800.
I'm sure.
So there has been previous discussions about, I don't think you want to mount it to the top of the water tower, because it could very easily go over the village because it's too high, but we could build a platform up easily enough and weld it to the tower steps itself about halfway up, if we had the additional money to be able to remote control set it off. Otherwise, we'd have to put a switch at the bottom, and the officers would have to go up there and set the switch off for us to hear it, but there's no doubt that you would definitely hear it better from the water tower
Thank you,
where we have it here.
Yes.
At the time, this is the best we had.
Well, sure.
So. And this is the old firehouse siren, and we had it laying in back here, we had it looked at, and it worked, so we put it up on the roof, you know, tried to do the best we could at the time.
I used to hear it when I was at the firehouse.
Well,
Every
again,
day at noon.
you get down here a little bit in the holler down here from up
Yeah.
there, I mean, distance makes
Yeah.
a little work difference.
will have the money by the time you find us a grant or something.
Yeah, well, we always keep our eyes out for grants and try and find, and we base a lot of those, trying to find those grants off of what's in the mitigation plan. Because those, and there's, the plan has got projects from all over Preble County. You can take and look through them, and they will show that you guys aren't the only ones that need tornado sirens and generators and things like that. So,
Any other questions for David? Thank you, sir.
yep, thank you very much.
Thank you. Previous discussion also, just to refresh the ones that's recently come on council, we have the generator out here that runs the water plant. And we wanted to run from the generator to the building here to make this a safe haven in case of emergency. The village building could be turned into a shelter. There again, it was like $4,000. That wasn't achieved at the time, so it has been addressed in the past. It's just a matter of funds, so. Anything else?
No, we were just talking about the training that we have to
Oh.
go through, but he's going to talk to Charlie.
Oh, okay.
The NIM 700 training, Charlie can hold a class doing that, and I'd like to talk to him before I discuss that with you guys.
And what that amounts to is people just come to council, you have to take this class through Homeland Security as a requirement, so at some point in time, you'll be contacted to take those classes. It's just not very long, it's not very long, so it's- I don't think you have to pack a bag or anything.
Well.
All right, building. Nope. Streets. Nope. I will tell everyone that we have 3 Cisa Gators out here in the garage. We are waiting on the safety lights to be put on and stuff. They should be here Wednesday, I think. And then John Deere has to come back and make some adjustments on it, but you will see our street department guy in it before very long, running around the town. And then the last word I had on the dump truck was sometime the 1st of June coming in, so. Lights,
Nobody's told me anything, and I haven't seen anything.
finance.
Don't have anything.
You know, I noticed that we had received some municipal income tax. Do we
We're
think
getting little bits,
we're still getting it in?
and I'm hoping for a big check this next time, but we haven't got anything yet for May, for April, in May.
Well, there should be, I would think, I would hope.
I would hope any day.
And we have a general idea from the businesses what we're going to do per year, but hopefully in the next month or so, we'll know from the partial of the 3 months that was paid by the residents for the income, then we'll have a better idea of maybe what we're going to generate from this thing. So, sanitation.
I received a call from Rick saying that they was gonna have a second time around on this Ohio demolition program where there's some more monies that's gonna be distributed to tearing more houses down in all of Preble County. So I called Kim Keller and she faxed me lots of information, and I'm gonna be working on that. Prioritize, get with Bill. One I'd like to see is the one down on Whitewater Avenue, the house that burned, and the one up on North Washington Street, 138. Although that was up for sheriff's auction in Sunday's paper, so I need more information on that. I also asked for forms to get these property owners to sign, the ones that have told me they'd like to see these buildings torn down, old houses torn down. Kim told me that they would have to contact her, which who's gonna do that? So I asked Kim if she would fax me this paperwork to get the property owner to sign off on, so that would help us by not going through the court system to get them tore down, if and when we ever have the money. But it would save us a lot of money just by trying to get them, or to get them to sign these papers. And also in September, the county landfill has gotten another grant for this year, which we did not have hardly any notification from last year, on tires. Each resident in Preble County will be allowed to take 10 tires to the fairgrounds. I don't know the exact date yet. I'm waiting for a letter from the lady that runs the landfill down there. And they're allowed to take 10 tires, but they have to pre-register because they have to show proof of where they live so that they're not taking in somebody else's tires, because a lot of that goes on. But anyway, that's going to be 2 to 3 days in September. So if anybody in New Paris has tires they need to get rid of, they can take them down there and it won't cost them anything. Also, Mr. McMahon, who owns the old school, is a little upset because he just found out that his taxes were assessed. And this was back in 2010, 2011, where he owed like $2,400 on his assessment. And so I and Jane worked on this, and I talked to his secretary and told her that we would agree to drop all the fines that was on there, and he would have to pay a total of $615, which we had to pay out to get somebody to clean up his messes up there. And I've not heard from him, so I don't know if he has a complaint. He can go to court if he wants to. I have lots of paperwork, lots of pictures and letters that he would not accept when they were sent to him. They came back. So I also found a grant to tear down the old school building. But the property owner has to apply for that grant. And I also told his secretary about that. I told her it would be a great opportunity for him to get that torn down. He wants to sell the building for $50,000 now. And I think that's what he paid for it, but I'm not sure. It wasn't much over $50,000. But I know it's going to cost probably $100,000 or more to tear it down.
100,000 will touch it.
Probably not, more like 500,000. But anyway, he knows about it. I gave him the contact name and numbers in Columbus to apply for the grant. If he does, so I don't know. The village could. She told us the only way we could get it torn down was to borrow the money. I said, why do we want to borrow money to tear somebody else's building down?
Does this grant that you have an amount to it that they will pay to tear it down?
Not a certain amount. There's no match monies. I don't have the paperwork with me, so I can't tell you an exact amount. But I know that they've torn some other schools down in the state of Ohio. I just sat 2 days looking for grants because I'm so sick of that schoolhouse up there. I hate to see it tore down, but he's not doing anything with it. And if he doesn't, it's going to fall down anyway, so.
Mr. McMahon also needs to be contacted about the old bus barn up there. The metal is coming off of
Right.
it, and it's landing in the homeowner's yard behind them. I've had some calls from them. I told them that, we would try to get a hold of Mr. McMahon, but it's not very successful. Having said that, I would not be too hasty in dropping assessments against him or making a deal with him unless he steps up to the plate and takes care of this stuff.
Right.
So, that's my suggestion.
I think he got one phone call. I don't know whether he talked to the people or not about it, but I have had a couple of complaints, and I am going to send him another letter. And if he doesn't, then I guess we'll have to do something, whatever it might be, and assess his taxes, whether he likes it or not.
Also, did Kim Keller give you a time frame? Because
Oh.
according to David's phone call to me the other day, the commissioners was going to act on this additional round this week.
Oh, this week, she told me that it had to be in by the 24th.
Okay, well, she's probably more up to date than I am, but I misunderstood. I thought David said they were going to act on it this
I'll
week.
call
That's
her
the reason
again just to
reason I
make
called
sure.
you Friday, because
Okay,
he gave me the call and said that they were going to, they received another round and that would be coming before the commissioners this week. Maybe that was the way he put it, instead of act on it, it'd be coming before the commissioners this week. But double check the time frame here so we don't miss the loop.
I will call her again tomorrow, but she told me the 24th was the deadline. And also, ODOT, I've been on Doug Rayner because I told him I didn't want this property transfer to fall through the crack again. Margene Baumgartner's place down there by the library. And I told him that we had a chance to get that torn down if we could get all the paperwork. So he's supposed to call me sometime this week to let me know. He promised he would try to get that land transfer done so that the village could, it would be turned over to the village and we could get on that list to maybe get that building torn down too. But I don't know how many other places in Preble County is going to apply. And again, they prioritize
I think if we can
that.
get that building transferred to us, I think the street department can tear that house down easily.
Okay.
Because there's not that much there, we can tear that down the back, we'll put it in a truck and haul it away. We just need the transfer to us.
Right.
My understanding is the state don't even know it's there unless you bring it to their attention, but the state owns it. But-
He knows because I've been calling him every month since
Well,
January.
he may know, but up the ladder. may
Oh,
not.
yeah,
So,
right. Well, I'm pretty sure that he'll do it, but I'm going to stay on him. If he don't call me, I will call him again.
anything else from sanitation?
Got anything, Bill?
Planning, not too much. BPA, what's here with BPA? We have some resolution ordinance here. First on the agenda tonight will be ordinance 2013-01, the new Paris zoning. This is the third time we're presenting this to council. This is where we're adopting the updated zoning from West Ellick to be put in as new Paris zoning laws. If there's any discussion on this, now is the time. If not, I need a motion to accept. I know we did this once before, but we did it out of turn, so we gotta do it again.
I make a motion that we accept ordinance, what was it, 2013
Dash
oh
02,
the new updated zoning plan program.
I'll second it.
roll call, please.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mary Jane.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Next is resolution 2013-04, amendment of appropriations. And this is because buying the dump truck and the gator and stuff, we have to amend this for amending, yes. Be it resolved by the Council of New Paris, Preble County, Ohio, a resolution of approval to amend the permanent appropriation resolution by the modifying the following appropriations. Add appropriations 2011 street fund. 2011-800-550-9713, $52,523 to purchase a dump truck. 2011-800-550-9714, $15,106.97 to purchase a utility vehicle. Gator. Add appropriations 5901 sewer in Star, Ohio, non-pooled. 5901 910 910 0300, $14,715.42 transferred out. 5902 sewer, Eaton National Bank, non-pooled. 5902 910 910 0300, $60,800.85 80392 transferred out. Total changes to appropriations, $143,149.31. This is something we need to do. I need a motion for this, please.
I make a motion that we accept the resolution 2013-04 to amend 2013 appropriations.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill, Kim, Kathy,
Yes.
Mary Jane.
Yes.
We also need a motion to pass this as emergency and to forgive the 3 reading rule. Is that correct, Jean?
Yes. I make a motion that we waive the 3 reading rules and declare this an emergency.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill, Kathy,
Yes.
Kim, Mary Jane.
Yes.
Thank you. As we have another resolution here tonight, and what this is, we have to request from Mindy. We have a levy coming up this year to be renewed, nothing new, just a renewal of the estimated 2.2 mil for 5 years, which is the fund that generates $30,000 towards our general fund. And
Rick, you might want to do that November 1st, because we've got it, the Ohio Police and Fire.
oh, okay, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I must have put it in here.
Do my pleasure. This to you, please, if you would. Safety.
Oh, okay. Is there a number to it?
2013-05.
Okay. Resolution 2013-05, a resolution to amend Resolution 2004-02 of the Council of the Village of New Parish, Preble County, Ohio. The Council of the Village of New Parish, Preble County, Ohio met in regular session at a duly called and authorized meeting of the council, and on the date set forth below, such meeting being duly called pursuant to a notice stating the time, place, and purpose of the meeting received by all council members, and the following resolutions were made, seconded, and adopted by those present at the meeting. Whereas the eligible employees of the Village of New Parish Police Department participated in the Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund. Whereas the Council of the Village of New Paris has previously adopted a pickup plan of 10% of the 10% mandatory contributions required to be paid under Section 742.31 of the Ohio Revised Code for participating employees of the New Paris Police Department who are members of the Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund. Whereas Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund has adopted new rates and procedures for reporting picked up contributions in order to properly prepare 1099-R forms for its members. Whereas the Council of the Village of New Paris wishes to amend and restate its prior resolution in order to continue to pick up under the new procedures. Now therefore be it resolved that effective as of July 2013, the Council of the Village of New Paris has determined to continue to pick up all of the mandatory contributions by the employees who are members of the Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund through a payroll reduction. Be it further resolved that any future changes in the mandatory contribution rate shall result in the pickup amount to also increase the member contribution rate, including the following scheduled changes. Current period beginning, current ending July. Basically, it lists that July 2013, it's going to go up to 10, currently it's 10%. July 2nd, 2013, it goes up to 10.75%. July 2014, it goes up to 11.5%. And July 2015 and thereafter, 12.25%. Be it further resolved that said picked up contributions paid through a payroll reduction, even though designated as an employee employee contributions for state law purposes are being paid by the council in lieu of said contributions by the employee. Be it further resolved that said pickup contributions will not be included in the gross income of the employees for tax reporting purposes, that is for federal or state income taxes, until distributed from the Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund. Be it further resolved that said picked up contributions will be included in the gross income of the employee for employment and tax purposes as the contributions are made to the Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund. And be it further resolved that said employee shall not be entitled to any option of choosing to receive the contributed amounts directly instead of having them paid by the council to the Ohio Police and Fire Pension. Dated this 6th day, 2000, dated the 6th day of May, 2013.
Basically, this is a requirement from the state, correct, Jim?
Yes, and it only affects what they put in, not what the council puts in.
Having
So
said-
what
It's
the
the
mandatory is still 10%, but they are allowed to pick up their own up to, used to be 10%, now it's going up.
It is 10% now, it will go to 10.75, and it'll increase and increase. But it's from the employees'
It's
side of it.
Yes.
But we have to agree to do it.
We are paying it on their behalf and deducting it from their rate of pay.
Right, we don't pay it out of our
Right.
funds. We pick up out of their
Payroll.
out of their payroll and pay it to Ohio Police and Fire.
I may,
I'm sorry, does everybody have that?
And really, the only one that is in it is Chris.
Yeah, but we still have to pay it. Or I'm paying it.
No, you're in OPERS.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is Ohio Police and Fire. So
And-
it's only Chris, he's the only full-time one.
And I had called PERS at one time because I have no intention in retirement money from them. But they said that I still have to pay it, but when I resign or whatever, if I'm no longer on council, I can contact them and they will reimburse me for what I've paid into it. So for anybody that's having that taken out and knowing they're not gonna draw any money from them to retire
I
them.
think you may be the only.
Really? How'd that happen? Oh, I thought everybody was paying.
does everybody understand the way that's working then? I make a motion that we approve the amended contribution rates set forth in resolution number 2013-05.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Bill,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Mary Jane.
Yes.
I need a motion that we forego the three reading rule and pass this as emergency.
I move that resolution 2013-05 be declared an emergency and not be and passed on one reading instead of three.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mary Jane.
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Okay, now back to resolution 2013-06. And there again, this is where we have a request from the auditor to tell us how much money we can, the levy is going to, estimated revenue from the levy, which is again, let me emphasize, this is a renewal. This is not an extra tax. This is what we are receiving now, and we definitely need to continue to receive it. Resolution 2000-1306, resolution requesting from the Preble County Auditor, according to the Ohio Revised Code Section 570503, an estimated of tax revenue from a renewal levy of $2 million for 5 years for the current operating expense levy, having a final collection date of 2014 and declaring an emergency. Whereas it is required that the Village of New Parish, Preble County, Ohio, according to Ohio Revised Code 5705-03, request an estimated of tax revenue from new, renewal, and replacement levies before the placement on voting ballots can be achieved. And whereas issued for the November 5, 2013 general election are required to be in the office of the Board of Elections no later than 4 p.m. Wednesday, August 7, 2013. Be it therefore resolved that the Village of New Paris, Preble County, Ohio, requests from the Preble County Auditor an estimate of tax revenue on the renewal of the 5-year 2-mill levy having a final collection date of 2014. I need a motion to accept Resolution 2013-06.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Kim? Yes. Mary Jane?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Bill? Joe?
Yes.
And I need a motion that we declare, forego the 3-reading rule and pass this as an emergency.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Bill?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Mary Jane?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Thank you. And again, I cannot emphasize enough to people in the village that this is just a renewal, and we definitely need to continue paying the bills. Old business. I don't think we have too much there. New business. We have some things to discuss there. As you have known that in previous meetings that there have been some mention as to there have been a few meetings taking place over the past several months about the possibility of 70-40 corridor out there, opening that up to some development out there. I will tell you that I attended a meeting a week ago Wednesday where we made our presentation to the commissioners and asked them to partner with us in the development of 70 and 40 corridor. In the drawings that you see in front of you, so for the ones that haven't been on council but for a while, if you'll look at the drawing with the circles on it, this is our proposal, and what it is, it takes about $3 million to run water and sewer out to the state line out there for future development. This drawing is going up 320, and the circles you see are the manholes, and the double circle there will be a lift station, and it just continues out and goes down the south side of 40. The next page, you look at, there's 3 lines under it. You see a blue, an orange, and a yellow. This is the proposed route for water. One would run along 320 up and down 40 to the state line out there, along 10 foot away from it. It's got to be separated 10 foot from the sewer, but it will follow the same path. Now, it has been a discussion that it's always better to have a continuous water loop than a dead end on a water service. So there was 2 alternate plans put together that was presented to the commissioners. One is in the orange that comes down across Tim Cummins' property out there. It comes down to Guy Murray Road, comes down to Cedar Springs, and comes back in and ties into the village there at Christine Avenue. The third alternate, or the second alternate, would be to come down Tim Cummins' property, come Guy Murray Road out to 121 and come back into 121 this way and tie into the village, which was my recommendation that I thought would be the best for the village of New Paris. If the commissioners so choose to get behind this project, by doing that, that would open up all this area out here for possible future development, having water. It would not be sewer, it would be water only coming down that way. Sewer is just one way out and down to 40 stops. But water is the main thing. A lot of, like Strauss's out here, they have water issue. People down there on the Guy Murray Road, they have a water issue. It would be a benefit if we could do that. So Shonda Combs, and I have, for the ones that's just on council, I'll get with you later, but I have a copy of the estimated cost for that. This has been presented to the commissioners. This is something that we had Susan do about 5 years ago, worked up this plan for us. We actually submitted this plan to the Obama administration when they first come to office, and they were ready, looking for shovel-ready projects. We were ready, we submitted it, they voted back at us, told us to go to EDC. economic development. You know, we talked about this for a while. This has been a major conversation piece for 6 or 7 years here on council. One of the reasons for the income tax is the possible formation of a JED between the township and us to move forward out there with hopefully someday get development off of that. We get development off that with the income tax in place. We receive revenue off of that. So this may be our only shot. There is, I can tell you the meeting went fairly well. The presentation went well. We have had, in the last, and if anybody wants to copy this, I'll give it to you. They're reading all these numbers, you can look at it. But I talked with Susan, these numbers are still, what I was going to say, these numbers are still viable today. So we presented this all to the commissioners at the meeting the other day. And we asked them, for their support. The other thing that we asked them for to do is, you have this drawing here, well mine's colored, but the printer out here is not colored, but this is what they're calling the thumbprint out here, the thumbprint out here, this little circle right here between 320 down to Shelton's Firework, only on the south side of 40 is what we're talking about. And we asked the commissioners to think about making that a TIF district. That is only this area as a TIF district, not the county, not the whole county, just this area only as a TIF district. What TIF districts do is that, and once you have infrastructure there, if businesses come to there, then the businesses actually pay back some of the money that's cost for the infrastructure going to it. I lost my train of thought there for a minute, folks. I'm sorry. I'll be reading this for a second. Yeah. But then that's TIF district is total that is different from the JED itself. I mean, there still will be correspondence between the township and the village. Having said that, I will tell you that there is 2 of these properties that's been on the internet for the last year and a half. That's Bob Smith's 43 acres, and then there's about another 40 acres that the GoMark has, which is the old 76 truck stop. I will tell you, in the last year, there has been 3 potential prospects that has given a hit on those properties out there. One of them, and this was presented to the commissioners also, one of them was a small manufacturing, automotive type industry. It was a $160 million a year company, and they were looking for a possible 300 people within 5 years of employment. They really liked the site. There again, no infrastructure. They passed. We had another one that was hit out there on another company that was looking for 50 acres with maybe a contingency of another 35, which was a distribution center. Again, no infrastructure. They passed. There was another firm, I can't remember, Tight Seal, it's Steel Tight or something, I don't remember now. Smaller company, not the 100, it was probably about, I can't find my paper here, but I think it was about a $90 million company with the possibility of maybe 80 people employment out there. Had infrastructure been in place, again, they passed. But everybody's looking for interstate exposure very quickly. Most of them are looking for also rail service, but a lot of them are willing to go to rail service if they have immediate access to interstate transportation. So there has been some interest in 70, and we presented that to the commissioners and asking them to consider this. And this leads us up to the next phase of this, and I'm willing to share any of this information in detail with anyone after the meeting here. This has all been public, it's all out there now. It's in front of the commissioners, it's on tape, you can watch it on the, if you go to Citizens of Preble County, Jeff Golden has it, you can watch the tape, the presentation there from the commissioners and everything else. So, having said all that, and we don't know what the commissioners are going to do, and we're waiting to hear back from them, but one of the first things that we have to do, that has to be done, and they're going to wait to see what we do on that before they have to have a market evaluation of what this land out here is best going to be used for, whether it be retail or whether it be some type of small manufacturing. Shonda has been in contact with two companies that does the market evaluations. One was for $30,000 and one was for $12,500. Before the meeting with the commissioners, contacted the Chamber of Commerce, or the New Paris Chamber, and told them what was going on here. And I told them that I would like to see them come up with $6,000. They have since held their meeting with their board of directors, and they have voted the $6,000 towards the economical people bargaining on this site. I have made contact with the township. Tentatively, they still have to bring it to the table, take a vote on it. Tentatively, ask them for $3,000. I don't have any thinking that we will not achieve that with them. They still have, it's still early, they still have to have their vote. That brings us to council. I'm coming to council tonight, and I'm asking council to step up and give us $3,000, which would be our third of the matching 12.5, so we can have this market analysis study. I know it's tight, but this is probably our only opportunity that we've had or may ever have in seeing this done. And I stood before the commissioners and told them that I felt confident, I didn't promise them, but I felt confident that we could achieve the financial responsibility of this market study. I think showing them that we have skin in the game goes a long way. Instead of asking them to do it all, we're willing to step forward and take a risk with some money to get this done. What the market study does is also opens up the avenues. I will tell you, there is this little square here, I can tell you there is a biofuel stop. That is, this property at the old truck wash has been sold 2 years ago. I can tell you that they have delayed their plans for a biofuel station out there. Originally, they were talking about a biofuel station and a biofuel plant on the GoMart property. They have since elected not to go with the plant on the GoMart property, but they are still planning to do the biofuel stop.
Be ethanol, is that what that is?
Well, the biofuel you put in your car, or whatever that, I don't know what the mixture is. You know, you might do, you know, that flex fuel that you are, you know, that's what it is, flex fuel. So, because they have not started this project yet, Shonda has found out the possibility of correlation here that if we work with them when they start this project, if there's a $500,000 grant out there that we possibly could receive right off the bat of the $3 million. That's a big shot in the arm if that takes place. What I'm going to ask from council tonight is I would like to have a vote to approve the $3,000, and I will tell you that I am going to ask BPA at their meeting for half the $3,000. I don't think there'll be an issue about splitting the $3,000, 15 for them and 15 for us, because if this thing works, they will be generating money from it also. So therefore, everybody has skin in the game, but I do not want to wait until after their meeting next week to be able to call Shonda and say, the trustees meet next week, and I hope when the trust meeting is over that we can contact EDC and say, we're on board with this money, so therefore I'm going to ask council for the $3,000 tonight, motion for that, and tell council that I will ask BPA for half that. If BPA chooses not to, I would still like to be on board on this project. So, questions before we take a vote on anything I've explained here tonight?
Is it 6,500 from the chamber?
They give us 6,000, so there's going to be $500 that's going to have to be made up somewhere. So we'll fight over that, $250 a piece or whatever. You know, I mean, once the commitment's there, we'll find the other $250. So that's basically where we're at. And what I asked them to do is to The chamber has received a good, significant amount of money in the last 6 months from the bed tax that the township has given to them. And so basically, we're just asking for some of that money, and that's what they've chosen to do. So, we need to step up to the plate here and show the commissioners that we are very interested in this project going forward, and that we're willing to spend some money to see what the next step will be. And we can't move forward without this market analysis. That's the next step. And so, and after they get that market analysis, then EDC can start looking at jobs of Ohio grant money. They can start looking at all kinds of other grant money. I've spoken with Susan about this. I have put Susan and Shonda Combs together. Because we all know Susan's good at what she does. She's a walking book of knowledge here. So I put those two together. They've had some correspondence. And Susan said, we're more than happy to help us with anything that she can help us with. If this thing ever bears fruit, which we all hope that it will bear fruit. So, most of the landowners out here tentatively are saying they're willing to sell. This is just the first stage, the first step here is that market analysis. There's still a lot of hurdles to go by. There's really, then, once we get the market analysis and if the commissioners decide to partner with on this, and at that point, then we would have to start working towards a JED with the township and stuff. But at this time, some of that is just premature until we find out whether the commissioners are going to be on board with this or not. Because quite frankly, I don't see any way that we and the township can do this on our own. So hopefully something will take place here. So this is something we've talked about for a long time, and I think the opportunity is here. So.
Yeah, I've been to several chamber meetings, and Shonda was at one of them and made this presentation. Jeff Golden has them, like you said, on the internet.
He put it on there for the meeting last week.
And they have highly recommended New Paris and that area out there being a good project. So,
We, according to Shonda, we do have the eye of the state right now. We just got to step up and see where the ball lands here. This may be our only opportunity, and I think it's money well spent. There again.
Well, if we don't do anything, we're never gonna know.
Right.
If it's gonna pan out and if we can make anything out of it or not. We just keep sitting here waiting. We gotta move.
yeah, we gotta move
And
now.
I can tell you that probably if we don't do something, I would assume, and this is just my opinion, that at some point in time, Richmond will come across
Right.
there. Right now, Richmond can't because they have sewer problems, but they are working diligently on those problems. They're spending like $5 million drilling a big tunnel holes and connecting and fixing all their sewer problems. And once they resolve those issues, I'm sure they're going to be looking
Yeah,
for
because they've already got the
revenue.
water out there.
And quite frankly, people, I would rather share in that revenue than let them share in that
Yes.
revenue. So, I'm just hopeful that, we can convince the partnership of this thing between the township and the county and the village to move forward. Having said all that, if there's any other discussions or questions?
I got a quick question on this water map. I assume this, you got the blue, orange, and the yellow. I assume these are the points that we could tie into the existing water system.
Yeah.
Why does the one in the yellow stop at the lake? That isn't the goal to get the water all the way up to 40 or?
I just didn't draw a line down here. It comes down, it just comes down,
Oh, okay.
it
So
comes
that-
this and down. I didn't put that. I'm doing that 5 minutes for the meeting here. I just didn't put my little mark there, so.
that answers that question. So then both those routes go the same way.
Well, they come to here to the same route, and then they either come down Cedar Springs or they go out and come down in 121. This way it's like $300-some thousand more, but
Quite a large distance.
it's quite a thing for the buck when you look at the possibility of development. And if we're actually looking at bonding and grant money, if it's there, let's get the biggest bang for your buck, if it's possible. If it's possible. to run sewer out there is $1,494,325,000. That's for the sewer. And then it depends on which option you take on the water of the three, where you end up, whether you end up at 3, whether you end up at 3.4. Just depends on which one of these, you know, and that won't be our decision, that will be, you know, that's going to come, this is what we're presenting to the commissioners.
Right.
And then, you know, if they want to declare that a TIF district out there and start the proceeding on all that, then, you know, but they're not going to do anything until we have this evaluation. Well, I decide whether they want to move forward with this thing or not. I mean, they're just, if you listen to the audio tape from the meeting the other day after our meeting, they're saying, well, let's, you know, the first thing we need to do is have this market analysis, and let's see what they come up with. So they're pretty much sitting back, waiting to see what we're going to do. And, you know, it's time to step up to the plate. It's all simple as that, so.
I'd like to make a motion that we take the $3,000 and get going on this.
I would like,
Up to $3,000?
up to 3,000, please, that way I can
Okay,
go. That way I can, if EPA decides not to, we have it. If they chose to, then we can reduce
Okay.
that without another meeting.
Okay, up to
Correct.
3,000.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mary Jane,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
And I will tell you, in the past, Mayor Hoffman was a big help in starting this thing. It's something he's been working on for a while. I attended a meeting with him, and the last couple of meetings, I attended the meetings, but I will tell you, once we do the market study, then I will be asking for a couple of people off council to join in this committee to make further recommendations. Further, at this point, it's kind of a wait and see game. We'll just do we'll get the market analysis first, and then we'll move forward from there after that. Any questions from the audience on that? Well, I about said a mouthful there, so I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Jane personally and by the council and by the village of New Paris. This will be her last meeting before she retires.
Oh, quit. Don't look so sad.
The people in the village just does not realize how
No,
valuable
they
it is that her in this position and Jane to replace her is going to be.
Exactly right.
She is absolutely the glue that holds this table together. Don't ever think otherwise. And it's been a pleasure for me personally for the last 10 years to work with her, and I thank her very much. Having said that, if there's nothing else, next meeting will be June 3rd, 7 o'clock.
I got one
Yes.
real quick thing. Are we supposed to do anything with this communication from Mindy Robbins about being screwed out of all the local government funds from the state?
That was just for our information. We really
Just the good news for the night.
we didn't discuss it, but basically what it tells you is, we've been telling everybody that the small government fund is being cut by the county, it's being cut by the state, and basically what they're saying is 57% so far, and they'll get the rest
It'll
of
be
it.
less than half, and it probably won't
And I
have
have
to
a
be.
chart that you can
I don't
see.
need to go in.
This chart's available, hopefully available on the table up there for anybody in the village that'd like to see it. There again, we've been telling everybody when we asked for this income tax, and originally we were, correct me if I'm wrong, but we were receiving like $76,000 from the small government fund. They slashed it in half, they're gonna take the rest of it eventually. That was one of the reasons why we needed to find revenue to keep this village going. And, and this income tax, we don't know exactly what it's going to create yet, but regardless of what it creates, you still have to remember that whatever it creates, you got to take $76,000 away from that, because that's what we lost that we got to replace. So anything, whatever this thing generates, I don't want a false impression that it made this much money, because it didn't, because there's $76,000 that we got to find to replace out of that money. So that's the reason we've been harping for years and years on this income, because they're just starting to chokehold on us, and that's all there is to it.
And our renewal.
This is available, anybody wants to read it, to be on the counter or.
And the other thing I'm sorry, I was supposed to look at our website, but we don't have one, and I looked all over the place for our website, and I'm sorry, that was just me being dumb. But I did look at the Chamber's website, which is very nice. There's a drop-down menu on the Chamber's website that includes all the tapes of the council meetings. Doesn't mention anybody else. I don't think there's no directory of council. Would it be all right if I looked at that and talked to Jeff Golden, who I think does that for them, to see if we could get a little more of our information on that drop-down?
Actually, Jeff is on the Citizens for Preble County, which has his own website. Now, we're listed in that, but to my understanding, and I have not been to
That's
the
okay.
regular chamber meeting yet, but my understanding that the new,
Colin has it, yeah.
Colin is
Yeah.
developing a new website for the chamber, and I think that is the one that we want to
That's what we'd like
pursue.
to try to get.
And yes, please move forward
I
with
will.
that.
I'll at
because-
least talk to some people and
Yeah,
see.
is my understanding, they're coming up with a new website through the chamber, and either one, Jeff, I'm sure will be glad, don't get me wrong, Jeff will be glad to
But if-
accommodate us also, but I think that we want to work with Chamber's website,
Yes,
if at all. I mean,
certainly.
Jeff's website covers Preble County, and we're listed, but I think to promote ourselves, it would be better to work with the chamber site as well as possibly his too.
The only place I could find a directory of local government officials was on the counties, and it's woefully out of date. I can try to see if we can't get some updates made on that one. But I do think, if there's something already in existence, it would be nice to tie a little of our, we don't have a lot that we need on there. But it would be nice to have a little more information about where you go if you need this or that.
In the previous conversation, I think something around $50 or $75 comes to mind that they were going to ask for us to tie in with it. It's very minimal for the exposure that you get. And if you would please, attend the
I will.
chamber meetings and ask questions and run with that ball on that, because it definitely needs to be taken care of. I'm not a computer guy, but no means, so please move forward.
But I do think that, it'd be good to have that information there.
Yeah, so, good point. Yeah, so. But like I say, I think they're supposed to be creating a whole new one from my understanding, so. Anything else? If not, before we leave, back to the phase 3, left over $30,000. I would ask council to give me some considerations to the possibility of that. She said we should stay in the immediate area of that. I don't know that's an absolute golden rule, but be thinking about what it is that you would like to pursue with that additional money, and bring some thoughts to the meeting next month, because I'm sure she'll pop in here one day and go, we gotta know what she decided. So we definitely want to use that and not let it go back. So give that some thought, if you would, please. That's it. I think we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Think of something else.
No,